Malaysia Free Trade Agreement Amendment Bill, first reading. I'll touch first on the purpose of the bill, which amends the Tariff Act of 1988 and implements the Malaysia-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, which was signed in Kuala Lumpur on the 26th of October of last year. What this bill does is speeds up tariff reduction between our two countries. In nearly half the time agreed in the agreement established the ASEAN, Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Area. And so, Mr Speaker, the comments that I make in this first reading of this bill I will make largely in the context of drought conditions which have been declared in much of the eastern areas of New Zealand and particularly in North Otago and Central Otago of my electorate, and in the context that anything that the National League government can do to enhance favourable trading conditions, particularly for New Zealand farmers, can only be applauded. Right. And so this agreement with Malaysia is a very important part of National's focus on free trade and improving access for our exporters to world markets, and particularly in the context of my electorate, those exporters being in the agricultural sector. This, of course, was a priority included in the Prime Minister's statement to the Parliament in February, so I'm very proud to stand, Mr Speaker, and speak in the first reading of this bill. And so, a little bit of background. Over the past 4 years, New Zealand's goods exports to Malaysia grew by more than 50%, making Malaysia New Zealand's 10th largest trading partner, and to me, Mr Speaker, that is exciting, significant, and provides New Zealand exporters with a wealth of opportunity. Also in the field of education, which is also important to us, between 2003 and 2008, the number of fee-paying Malaysian students in New Zealand increased by more than 70%, and that's a significant increase. This made Malaysian students New Zealand's third largest source of fee-paying university students and the second largest source of PhD students. And it's worth noting, Mr Speaker, that international full fee-paying students are worth over $2 billion a year to the New Zealand economy. So some of the detail of this Malaysian Free Trade Agreement: it eliminates Malaysian tariffs on 99.5% of New Zealand's exports within 7 years of entry into force, and that is quite significant, Mr Speaker. This 99.5% of New Zealand's exports to Malaysia being duty-free within 7 years is a much faster rate than the agreed 99.4% over 12 years under the ASEAN agreement. And so, on full implementation of this agreement, this will amount to duty savings of over $10 million a year for New Zealand exporters. 95% of New Zealand's exports to Malaysia will be duty-free on day one of the agreement coming into force. And the bill also provides 48-hour customs clearance and self-declaration of origin for our exports, and anything that can be done to smooth the way for exporters and cut some of the red tape under which they need to operate must and can be applauded. I want to just talk about a couple of the specific components of this free trade agreement, and while the provisions with regards to kiwi fruit are exciting, I'll leave those up to my colleagues who live in the North Island, because we don't tend to grow kiwi fruit commercially down south, because we have much more exciting things to grow like meat products, wool, dairy, and this is excluding liquid milk, fish, and particularly forestry. Now, those meat, wool, dairy, fish and forestry sectors retain their duty-free access, and in fact that duty-free access is bound in, so that Malaysia cannot reapply tariffs on New Zealand agricultural exports. And, Mr Speaker, as I said in my introductory comments to this brief contribution, in the context of the droughts declared today, I think that is exciting and should be encouraging. Mr Speaker, also liquid milk has a significant improvement on in-quota duties, which will be eliminated, and in-quota volumes, which will increase up to 5 cents a year. Mr Speaker, this Malaysian Free Trade Agreement is boosting innovation. I'm quite sure that those in the exporting agricultural sector will be excited about the improvement of export access to world markets. And this is one of National's 6 policy drivers for a step change in New Zealand's economic performance, one which will be welcomed by the farmers and the agricultural sector, particularly in those dry areas of the South Island. Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
Well done. Good speech.